Sometimes, like when I'd make YouTube content, people would be like, "Man, you swear a lot."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "No, I fucking
Like,
don't."
bitch,
I was like, "All right,
like,
well,
bitch,
yeah,
please.
yeah, right."
It's always lighthearted with my cursing. I don't curse at people. Like I'm not like
Yeah.
motherfucking.
I think sometimes
do
you're
that.
trying to like get a point across, and you think that it's like an exclamation point, right?
Yeah, it adds a little bit of spice.
Little oomph.
Oomph,
But
you know?
for sure, 100%, if you try not to, that's when it comes
Ugh.
out.
Yeah.
Like, that's when you go over the top.
I just want to communicate the best I can as honestly as I can.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And it doesn't work well for my mom.
I think the smartest people communicate in the least amount of words. You know, and it's hard, and so then sometimes you're fucking trying to have a transition word and and sometimes your transition words are sometimes cuss words.
Yep.
And you keep trying to think and search for stuff. Sometimes the curse words give you time. They buy you a little
Yeah.
time before you say the
Yeah.
next thing.
It's like an East Coast thing, too, right?
Oh yeah,
Instead of saying, it's like fucking.
yeah. That's when people are from Boston. Like, yeah, my fucking car broke down.
Oh
I
God.
love that.
That's like Mike Ryan style.
Mm-hmm.
Our boy Mike Ryan.
Mm.
What you guys thinking about that eat right, by the way? You still eating right or you eating wrong?
Oh man,
Don't be eating wrong.
God, Eat Right is so. My favorite two things from Eat Right Foods are by far their Bayou shrimp, and I really do like their turkey. Their
That's
steak's really
crazy.
good, but I like their turkey. Turkey is such a weak animal and a weak bird that
Mhm.
I don't eat it, but Eat Right's turkey.
Yeah, did you ever think that you'd be like looking forward to eating turkey?
No.
Isn't
about
that
you?
strange?
Their little skinny necks, man. I don't want to look like no turkey.
Mm-mm.
And they're just mean.
And they're dry. Usually turkey is dry,
Yeah,
right?
Their turkey is legit.
it is.
Juicy.
And I agree with you on the shrimp too. I cooked up a bunch of that. We had some friends that came over maybe earlier last week
Mhm.
and earlier this week. And we were going to have some steak and have some yummy stuff. But I'm like, I got to eat more than just like what we're going to have in our meal. And so
Mhm.
I cooked up some shrimp, took, 4 minutes in the microwave. It was completely frozen before that and threw down, 100 grams of protein or whatever it is.
Mhm.
Got to eat that and then got to enjoy dinner with everybody, and it worked out great.
It's amazing. Meathead Millionaire having some Eat Right foods before a big old fancy dinner. I love
Mhm.
that. Yeah, I had the Southwest Turkey Bowl before I came here, and I just added maybe half a cup of rice. Keeping the protein high for myself lately.
Mm.
It was super easy. Like it just, I don't know. It's awesome. I love
You
that
don't
stuff.
have to put it into any other plate. You can warm it up in that thing, and you can eat it from
So-
that thing and throw it away.
So
No dishes.
that's what I did. I know. It's my favorite thing. I hate washing dishes. If you guys aren't fans of meal prepping, I don't like I actually like the cooking. I hate the cleaning. This is an awesome way to get over all of that. So instead, if you don't like meal prep, just don't even do it at all. Have food shipped from Eat Right Foods Kitchen straight to your door right now at eatrightfoods.com. That's EATRITE foods.com. Load up at least a week's worth of you can do some calf raises.
I'll tell you after.
Load up at least a week's worth of meals to your cart, and at checkout, enter promo code PowerProject25 for 25% off your order. And once you guys see the light of Eat Right Foods, every order after that, use promo code PowerProject for 10% off. Again, that's at eatrightfoods.com. Promo code PowerProject25 for 25% off your first order, and PowerProject for 10% off every order after that.
My mind immediately always goes for the lowest hanging fruit.
Mm-hmm.
So when you said, I don't like dishes, I was like, isn't that why you have a wife? And by the way, I believe that men should do dishes too, right? I believe that men should do cleaning too. It's just sometimes my mind's like, and I laugh.
You're hyper masculine.
That's why, like, sometimes when, like,
Why would I want to do the dishes?
No.
people will just see me laugh, and I might look kind of crazy, but it's because I just made a really bad joke in my head.
That's great.
Yeah, so just saying, Stephanie, we love you.
Yes, we
So
do.
does Andrew.
Yeah, well, a lot.
A lot more.
Yeah, it's a different.
It's a different kind of love, Stephanie. I don't love you the way Andrew loves you.
She's good. She'll have to, tiptoe.
I haven't washed a dish in probably 20 years.
Wait, really?
No,
Right.
yeah, it's
Use a
not.
dishwasher?
Nope.
You don't even stack the dishwasher?
So
you have kids. Your kids do it.
Nope. Well,
My
maybe.
kids help. Yeah,
Oh,
my kids help.
camera's fucked
Or
up.
Andy does it.
Right.
I've watched Mark make just a fuck ton of dirty dishes and just puts in the sink and walk away. I'm like, damn.
Well, you guys probably split up the responsibilities in a way.
I guess.
so,
I don't
know.
Mark also gets all the clothes dirty and then doesn't do those either.
Well, isn't that
So
just-
it's a healthy balance.
I'm gonna shut my mouth before all our female.
I do make
viewers.
us a lot of money though. So I'm good at that. I'm good at that. She's got a couple homes and a couple cars, so I think she's alright. I think she's okay.
Don't you guys have like 3 homes?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. She does stare at me though, every once in a while, and it does look like she's thinking of like stabbing me. So maybe I should do some dishes here and there.
You know, I think that if your partner isn't at some times, just thinking of just
Ways to kill you.
ways to hurt you, then they don't really love you.
You're not pushing the
Like I
envelope
wonder
enough.
what would happen if she, she's probably thinking, I wonder what would happen if I just ran up to him and just knocked him silly with the toaster. Just right upside his fat head.
She definitely could because she's swimming, so she has the good
She
shoulder
has that
mobility.
mobility
She
and
comes straight from over the
Damn.
top.
Mm.
Oh, my camera's dead.
She probably thinks about it a couple times a day.
Probably.
What happened to our camera? It died?
No, mine did.
Oh.
If there aren't a few arguments here and there, do you really care? Like there has to be a little bit of conflict. Like because if it's always, just happiness and whatever, I feel like you're not pushing enough. Not
Nah, I don't
finding
care.
stuff to fix.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't care. We get along really really well. Things work out pretty damn awesomely. We have a good understanding of each other, and we need to have her back on the show because
Yeah.
I know we've kind of talked about some of this stuff before, but somebody asked me a really interesting question when we were in Utah. They asked me about our dynamics, with me, deciding years ago to take performance enhancing drugs and kind of like, what she thought about that. And they were like, I never seen you guys really talk about it publicly. And the reason why the guy wanted us to talk about it publicly, because he's like, I want my old lady to be on board, with me taking some stuff. So that would be kind of fun to talk about it on a podcast. I know Andy she'd be down. She'd be open for it.
All right.
I think that'd be great actually.
That'd
I
be
think that's
amazing.
a really good it's a really good topic to go down.
I think some people want to try all kinds of different things, mushrooms, psychedelics, even marijuana, or even things sexually
I was
or
gonna
whatever.
say
and-
weird positions.
Yeah, like,
Mhm.
and then for some reason I don't know, it's too weird, but the person that you're with and the person that you're with for pretty much the rest of your life,
Nsima.
you're, yeah, you should, it's,
Don't.
whoa, wow.
I'm just looking at that camera right there. Just keep talking.
But that kind of turned me on though. Now I don't know what to do.
People are so uncomfortable.
Anyway, I think we're supposed to do a Q&A today, right?
We are supposed to do a
Sunday. We got
Q&A.
some cues coming in already.
Today's Sunday? What the fuck are we
Sunday.
doing working on a Sunday?
Every day is Saturday and Monday at the same
I
time.
thought we'd talk about balance on this show. We don't got no balance.
Fuck.
We're just
Fuck
here
did you
doing
just
this all the day?
Every day is Monday and Saturday.
What do you mean?
So every day can be a work day or every day can be an off day.
Monday, Saturday, it's all the same to him?
Yeah. Because
See-
like if it's Saturday, you can kind of fuck around, but maybe you got to go to work tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it's Monday, you're already working, but maybe you don't have to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
To you, it's Thanksgiving. To me, it's Thursday. Rocky Balboa.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite lines in Rocky.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't give a fuck what day it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to train.
Absolutely.
I think we're just a bunch of losers is what it is.
We ain't got shit to do.
We ain't got nothing better to do.
I like the weekdays though. Honestly, I enjoy the
Yeah.
weekdays more because we're doing more stuff.
Mhm.
Then the weekends come like, how can I do more stuff?
Mm.
I feel that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Anyway, you got some questions.
Let's get it.
I think I shouldn't butcher. Well, I butchered that.
Butcher.
Shaki.
Shaki.
SCHAACKII.
Shaki.
How do I know as a beginner how many calories I need to go on a bulk?
You want me to take it? Why don't you take it?
Yeah. Why don't you start?
You
I'll
won't.
start. I've talked about this before. We really need to make our own calculator online so people can just go to it.
It just says plus minus 10%.
Plus minus 10%. Shaki, my friend, you're a beginner. So I would honestly say that go and find, and for everybody, this is a pretty good resource if you're someone who wants to start doing some tracking. We've had John Berardi on the podcast. He's the founder of Precision Nutrition. I'd say it slowly. You say it too fast, you fuck it up. But the Precision Nutrition calculator on the internet, look it up, Precision Nutrition calculator, is a great online calculator that you can plug in your stats, how much you weigh, your body fat, your activity level, all that type of stuff. And it'll give you around where your maintenance caloric intake is. And then it'll also give you some ideas of where you might want to place your calories if you're going to go on a bulk. Generally, I think that if you're a beginner, just stick at maintenance, right? Stick at maintenance. You don't need to worry about being in a big surplus because you will grow once you start working out and eating at maintenance. But generally, you can put yourself just like in a deficit. We usually say 10 to 20% deficit. Go to a 10 to 20% surplus and start from there. But don't go too hard on the surplus, homie, because you could put on some excess body fat that you don't want.
I think a lot of people are trying to bulk. They're trying to get a little bigger, and they do a couple things that maybe aren't in their best interest. So number one is sometimes they eat some junk food, and they kind of eat junky or not the best options like during the day. And that takes up space for more calories, and that's not really what you want to do. So obviously you can eat a ton of calories by eating some junk food, but I think most people, they're not on a mission to just gain body fat.
Yeah.
And so I would look into something like the vertical diet, where
Yes.
you have a nice healthy food list, and the food list that Stand Efforting recommends are all things that digest pretty easy. They're things that your body can assimilate really well. As opposed to, eating something that's going to really kind of sit in your stomach for too long and you can't get to that next meal. The other thing that people do is I think they kind of just don't have a good estimate of how much food they're eating. And so therefore tracking or keeping just some sort of accountability, even if you just kept track simply of how many meals you ate in a day, that would be a great start. And you might not even have to actually pay attention to a lot of the calories. You might be able to look at the scale. You might be able to look at yourself in the mirror and kind of see how you're gaining. There's nothing wrong with measuring the calories if you want to take that extra step. But it's really rare for people to commit to 5-6 meals a day, every day for a long period of time. And say, make sure that your protein is at like about 1 gram per pound of body weight.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would kind of mess around with your carbohydrate intake and play around with that. It could be about 1 gram per pound of body weight as well. And you can even work your way towards double that in a bulk. And then your fat grams would probably be about half your body weight. So if you weighed 200 pounds, it might be about 100 grams of fat, and you can kind of toy with that. But for most people, even 100 grams of fat could be just for nearly just about anybody, unless you're a lot smaller. But definitely not going below like 70 or 75 grams of fat, because that can kind of mess with your hormones.
Let me also mention this. What Mark said, like especially anyone who's beginning the whole diet thing, before even tracking, one of the biggest important things is just to have good food habits. Learn how to not drink excess calories. See, the baby talk is coming, my friends. Learn how to not eat excess calories from liquids. Learn how to not be snacking so much during the day, which is something that a lot of people don't track their snacks, excess calories. Learn how to focus on eating whole foods. You'll have some processed foods here and there. You'll have some snacks here and there, but a majority of your calories should be from food, because the intention of tracking right now is to, at some point in your future, never have to track again. You want to learn about food. You want to learn what's in rice, sweet potatoes, all these different foods and the amounts, so that when you get to a certain level, you can bulk without having to track super hard. You can cut without like actually even having to track, because you have some knowledge, understanding of how to actually eat. Keep that in mind.
And I think if you are going to snack, maybe you can work on just repositioning your food. So like if you dig something like Cheez-Its or animal crackers or something like that, if you're into some of these foods and you feel, really hooked to them, obviously the number one thing is to work on working them out of your diet. But if you still wanted to keep them in your diet and you're in a bulk, I think you could do so in a reasonable way. And it could be after your meal. I think it's more important that you make sure you get in the macros that you need. You got everything that you need. And if you still kind of got the munchies for something that's different than your normal food, then afterwards might be a good choice.
Check out Legendary Foods.
Legendary
Foods. Check them out. They got some good stuff.
Tasty pastry.
Tasty pastry.
Well, that goes into this next question by Dylan, and it's along the lines of what you were already laying out, Mark. But he asks, do you guys think eating 1 to 1.2 grams of protein per body per pound of lean body mass, as well as limiting fat and carbs, is a great way to hold on to muscle but shred some body fat, obviously with proper weightlifting as well?
Absolutely. I think that's the game right there. I want to always point out that I don't believe that you actually need 1 gram per pound of body weight. It's a decent rule of thumb to throw out there to people. I think you could take in quite a bit less and still hold on to muscle mass, depending on how rigorous you are with your training. But you kind of need to eat something. And so it's easy to tell people, hey, just get in a good amount of protein. That way you can stay full, stay satiated throughout the day. You want to do as many things that can promote you to end every single day when you're on a mission to lose body fat. You want to do as many things in a day to promote that you don't overeat. That's all you're trying to do. You're trying to get through a lot of days without overeating. The more on balance you can be with that, the more on point you can be with that, the easier it is going to be to win. And in my opinion, a great way to do it is through keeping your protein high, keeping your fat at least modest, because fat is satiating and satisfying. I think that's a kind of forgotten thing. It's like we need our food to be a little bit satisfying, and I would keep the carbs at a more modest amount. There's not a lot of situations where I think that people need over like 100 grams of carbs. I'm not saying that you never need over 100 grams of carbs, and I'm not saying that some people might find it more beneficial to consume more than that, but in general, that's what I found worked really well for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to kind of double down on the fat aspect of things. You can limit fats and carbs, but don't limit the fats too much. If you're going to, I think if you're going to take more away from something, take more away from carbohydrates, because fats have a big effect on men when you're really lean, and when you restrict them, and have a very big effect on women too. So as a man, your libido can go down, your tests can go down, and you literally feeling less virile and having less energy, that'll hit your workouts pretty hard. You won't be able to hit your workouts as hard as you typically do, right? A lot of women who really mess with their fats, they have a loss of their period for a period of time. You know what I mean? And that can be mitigated, or that might not happen if you give yourself enough fats. So really, I'm not saying don't eat carbs. Eat carbs, but do not I would say the fats are the last things you really want to hit hard. Just my personal opinion. A lot of people like low-fat dieting, but I've seen moderate fats just do much better.
Always keep in mind that Nsima and I have been doing these diets for a long time. Andrew has been messing around with his nutrition for a long time and training. And so as much as we love kind of low carb lifestyle, we understand it might take a while for you to adapt to it.
Yes.
So I would adopt some of these principles for a while, give your body time to be able to have some adaptation to them. It's going to take a while. You might even want to start with something like a keto-ish diet, where the fat content that you're consuming for a few days is kind of high. You know, eating whole eggs, eating things like ribeyes, eating things like cheese, like kind of butter, intentionally going on the fatter side of things for a bit, just to get your body used to it. And now you're trying to get your body to switch over to just running on a different fuel source for a bit. And that time period doesn't always feel great. And along with that, we got to always mention that it's important to get your electrolytes in, and you can grab some Element. It's a great product. We promote it all the time here. They support the podcast, so we support them back. But that's been a huge difference for me in cutting back on carbohydrates, and still, because we have a lot of people that will say, oh man, I tried what you said and I felt like I was going to die.
Yeah.
And it's like you can add salt to your diet, but you can also add in something like Element.
Andrew, how can people get Element? Let's just tell them real quick.
Real quick, yeah. drinklmnt.com/powerproject. No code needed, but get that value bundle because you can get 4 boxes for the price of 3. And everybody listening, especially if we take your question, I mean, that's got to deserve at least one share. You can brag to your friends that we talked about you on the podcast. So if we get to your question, at least do that. And everybody else, if you do appreciate what you guys are hearing, please hit that like button.
Hit that like button.
Yeah, we do have some more questions. This one's from Chris Musselman. Musselman.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's not spelled like that, but we'll call him Musselman. He's bringing up my boy Doug Brignoli.
Yeah.
This one's cool. You'll like this one, Nsima.
Okay.
because he wishes that he went into depth about like sport athletes and, whether doing like the Brig 20 is good for that type of an athlete. So he's asking, what do you think about the importance? What do you think the importance is for sport athletes, especially high school and below, to be doing compound movements, even if they are, quote, suboptimal for muscle growth?
Damn, that's a burner of a question.
I know,
It's a
right?
good one.
Some really good thought process. I think, if Doug Brignoli was to answer that question, he would still say, he would still go back to his kind of, this is how you get the most bang for your buck in the shortest period of time. And then also you can make an argument that some of the exercises that he's showing you, many of them are maybe a little easier to perform than a squat. So sometimes a squat takes a while to teach an athlete how to do. But my counter to that would be, that's actually a good thing because a squat is an athletic movement. I think when it comes to training athletes, you cannot go wrong with bench pressing, squatting, and deadlifting in some form or some fashion, whether that be slingshot bench presses and box squats and shortened range of motion deadlifts. Those are all lifts that will support you being able to handle the most amount of weight. You being able to handle the most amount of weight is a great way to end up getting a good amount of muscle tension, and it's a great way to promote muscle mass as well as promote you to be stronger from some of these positions. So I like a lot of what Doug promotes, but I think an aspect of being an athlete is to be strong from bad positions that are probably allowing you to gain access to many different muscles at one time. So think of something like a pistol squat. Like if Nsima is able to do a pistol squat and I'm not able to do a pistol squat, well, in some of our athletic endeavors, some of that strength and mobility that he has is going to show up. And some of my flaws are probably going to show up as well. It doesn't mean that he's always going to be a better athlete than me, but it probably means that he has a lot more access to everything that he needs better than I do.
And along with that, I think when we're paying attention to what a lot of Doug talks about, Andrew, what is the specific name of his book?
Oh man, I'll look it up.
But it's
biomechanics
of bodybuilding.
Fucking resistance, something.
Resistance training. But Doug, he is focused on bodybuilders, right? And for bodybuilders, you are focused on the size of each specific muscle group. So Doug's, I think Doug is focused there. And I think if Doug was if he were to talk to a baseball player, right, I don't think he'd be like the Brig 20 is all you need to do. Because if you're trying to swing a bat and produce force from your hips all the way to your arms, right, you need to be able to do movements that allow you to use all of your muscles together to create force and to create explosion. So I don't think he would, I think he would be like, okay, in this context with an athlete, jujitsu or whatever, and they need to be able to use everything together and produce force from weird positions, but also together at the same time. I mean, yeah, of course, compound movements and movements that'll help stabilize, like the bottoms up kettlebell press that can help stabilize the shoulder and stabilize the abs. All of these things, I think he would understand. He knows are important. Doug's super smart. So yeah,
that's a great point. Doug's research is, mainly done on bodybuilding, and he found these things specifically for bodybuilding. So if you asked him about a different sport, he would have to turn his attention to what is asked of you in that sport.
The physics of resistance exercise. That's what it's called. Damn it. Okay, let's see. We got a really cool question. I just lost it. There it is. Also, if you guys are listening, please hit us with your questions in the live chat now so we can get to them. This one's a doozy. Nikola Tesla 1943EE. That's a good one. His sleep is good. He uses CPAP. Diet's good. Carnivore, vertical, hybrid. Stress is low, etc. Still very low energy. On TRT, but feels underdosed. Endocrinologist sees, quote, normal levels and leaves it at that.
How old is he?
Doesn't say.
Doesn't say.
So maybe if you could hit us on the chat again, buddy, if we can answer that question about your age.
Yeah, energy levels. Sometimes that can be a little challenging. For me, I've been on this. We keep promoting low carbohydrate dieting, but low carbohydrates and fasting are things that have helped me tremendously with my energy. I have like I don't even know, like maybe I have like insomnia or something. Like
Mhm.
I don't fucking care about sleep. I don't even usually want to go to bed. Especially on a day where something happened where I'm excited about it. Just being out in Utah and shooting some of the commercial stuff. Like I went the entire day. I went from like 8 a.m. until around 7 p.m. talking the entire day.
Damn.
I am normally pretty quiet and pretty shy as a normal person. Like I don't usually talk that much at family functions and things like that. I probably talk the least out of most people most of the time. So that takes quite a bit of energy for me to do that. I lifted that day. I talked the entire day. I shot a commercial where I was reading from a teleprompter. I suck at reading. I don't know how to act, so that was all difficult, challenging. Um, uh, and it just put me in a different it gave me a different challenge than what I'm used to. After that, I rolled right into a seminar and just still felt really, really good. I attribute a lot of this. I think that having some testosterone helps, and having those levels optimal. I think that's been helpful. But I think the nutrition is huge. So I fasted that whole day, didn't eat anything, and I've been on kind of not a keto diet, but I've been on a low carb diet for quite some time, and I think my body's just kind of used to running off those fat calories. So maybe if you haven't tried intermittent fasting, and if you haven't given a shot to a diet where your body primarily runs more on fat than carbohydrates, maybe that would be beneficial to you.
So 46 says low carb and fast mornings while using Element. So
I was about to mention, are you hydrated?
Yeah, it seems like he's doing a lot of things right.
Good.
Yeah.
Maybe bringing those fat calories up a little bit. And
That's
then
what I was thinking.
And then another thing, which is this is, more challenging, but just to reinterpret the stress that's in your life, because sometimes people, didn't hear him mention that anything in particular was stressful, but sometimes people are fatigued because their work is stressful and this is stressful, that's stressful. I would like you to kind of rethink and re-examine why that's stressful. Clint Eastwood, I think he's like in his 90s now. Somebody asked him how he's been able to do it for so long and how he's been able to be such a high performer for such a long time. And he said, I work for 8 hours and I do it every day. And his point there is that he doesn't take his work home with him. He's not, he's not, how people are, they take this great pride. They're like, I'm a perfectionist. And that's cool that you want to try to be the best at something. But a way to make sure that you're not the best at something is to exhaust yourself with it. And so I'm not accusing this guy of that, but he could potentially be somebody that is taking their work home and is a little stressed. And if you find yourself, answering emails and text messages that are work related kind of all the time, maybe you should try to designate specific times for that, so that is less of an issue for you.
I don't think there's anything I really need to add that much to it. When before you mentioned it, I was just going to mention just pay attention to the things in your life, because just simple things like bills, all these things, even if you have everything in terms of your habits in check, those things can weigh on you and cause you just not to feel good. So a reinterpretation is necessary. But I'd say, like, if that, all of that stuff there, I'd say look at things mentally a little bit. Like for me, that's why I have that. That's why every single morning I just write down and I remind myself all the things I'm grateful for. It may seem cheesy or whatever, but that immediately shifts my mind to all the good that is going on that I have, and everything that I should be happy about. And I'm just heading into the day being grateful for what I've got. And some days that I don't do that, I don't even think about it. Like I notice that my mind's a little bit different until I do reorganize. I'm like, wow, this is good. This is good. This is good. My family's good. Everything's I have a lot to be happy about. And kind of it's a shift.
You have a bunch of habits that I think are good. You like to read. You will meditate. You'll stretch. Those are all things that, like, maybe for this guy, maybe these things would be, useful or helpful. I guess the last thing I would add is like, and along those same lines, but are you having an opportunity to really spend any time with yourself? I think sometimes that can be exhausting. If you end up, you're at work and then you're with your family, and do you have any downtime to yourself? And maybe you can sign up for a yoga class a couple times a week, and maybe that can be an hour away from your phone and away from everybody else, and just chilling. in that moment, because it sounds like you said, Andrew, congratulations to this guy. It sounds like he's doing a lot of things that are positive for his health, and maybe he has to just kind of continue down that road for a while before he knows some of the benefits.
Yeah, and I don't think he would have this issue, but he does say watermelon salt for life, and I agree. But one thing that I noticed for myself, a lot of it was due to kind of not getting a lot of good sleep with my son, and then that just kind of compounded on itself. But I was having, I would have coffee, and then I would have an energy drink, and then I would have another energy drink, and then I'd have another. Like, it just, I had to have that bump to get work done, and then it would crash, and then like, nope, I got to get back. And what I found was at the end of the day, I was just torched. Like, I was completely exhausted. I'm trying to cut back now. And so like, I'll have like a cup of coffee. Yesterday, I didn't even have any kind of direct caffeine. I had it through Coke Zero. But my energy level isn't going to skyrocket right now, but it's kind of more like maintaining like a cool like level. And at the end of the day, I'm not gassed. Like, I'm finding myself like opening up my laptop and getting more work done as the day goes on. So again, I don't think this is his, he might have this issue, but maybe somebody else who is experiencing something like this. Trying to, it sounds silly, but trying to wean off the thing that's giving you the energy. If you take that away, maybe you might find sort of like testosterone or something. You take away the exogenous and you might build your own and kind of do that sort of thing.
But initially, it's going to be tough. Remember,
initially will be a toughie for sure.
Or just lean on some Mind Bullet like I do.
Yeah, dude, Mind Bullet and Element has definitely helped me get through.
Bullet, yeah.
Mindbullet.com. Go check it out.
There you go. All right, so NA, that's all I see is NA. Man. No, but it's like capital N space capital A.
Man.
Or maybe not. Anyways, all right. Thoughts on the claim that 3 to 4 times a week full body routines are the most optimal for natural lifters pursuing strength and hypertrophy. The reasons given are usually higher frequency for muscle groups and increased recovery as muscle recovery for the whole body as a unit.
I'll let Nsima answer this in more sophisticated fashion, but I would say the most productive thing that you can do is the thing that you're the most interested in.
Why'd you take my answer, Mark?
Have consistency with it. So I know Nsima does some full body workouts quite a bit, and I can see how they have a lot of benefit. I like doing them here and there occasionally, but I also kind of just like doing kind of old school powerlifting stuff where I hone in and focus on, specific lift or body part for the given day.
So Mark took the essence of what I was going to say,
I'm so sorry.
But it's all good. It's all good. Let me add a little bit of
trying to steal your shit.
Yeah, a little bit of a twist to it, a little shake. Now, when it comes to that, like Mark said, you need to figure out what you're interested in. But I do think that you should, if you have the ability to do maybe 5 or 6 days a week, try some different routines, try some different setups for your programming, because the biggest important thing is whatever you're interested in doing. Because if you're not interested in working full body or doing a full body workout 4 times a week, you won't attack that workout with the same vigor as you would if you did like a typical, like, let's say 5-day upper lower push pull leg. Maybe you like that setup more and it's more enjoyable for you because you can work your upper body on one day, your lower body on one day, and you can split up the push pulls. Maybe you enjoy that aspect of training more, so you're able to hit each workout harder, and in the long run you'll gain more muscle that way. So I truly don't think, I don't care what the research says, I don't care what the science says, if it says that doing 4 days a week full body is more optimal for muscle growth, I don't believe it is unless the person likes it. Like Mark said, interest level is the most important thing, and if you don't like that, don't do it. But the one thing that I'll say that you should try to have creep into every single type of program that you do is frequency is important. Getting 2 times a week at least for each muscle group for muscle maintenance and muscle gain is extremely important. I do 3 when I do jujitsu. I'm getting back into doing jujitsu again because everything's pretty much healthy now. I do 3 full body days, or maybe sometimes I could do 4, but I typically do 3 full body days. When I don't do jujitsu, I still like doing full body training, even if it's just doing a few legs and a lot of upper body, and then on another day a lot of legs and a little bit of lower. A lot of legs and a little bit of upper body. I just enjoy that more these days. But there was a time when I did just do upper and then lower. I did push, pull leg, push, pull leg. I did those types of programs, but I find that my enjoyment comes when I'm able to do everything, work every body part on a specific day. And because I enjoy it, I get the most out of it.
It's also fairly convenient for us to do any kind of exercise we want because we have Super Training Gym, which has a lot of space, a lot of equipment. And you might find it kind of aggravating. You know, if you go to a gym and you're trying to work in 2 or 3 different movements at a time. You do some curls and you go to do like lunges and then there's someone in the way. Then you go to use this machine and someone just took your machine. Like it might throw you off track and you might be just annoyed and maybe can't keep pace with what it is that you like to do. So the other factor would be, you know, some convenience. So make sure you have access to even doing that. But it is very beneficial to do full body workouts. So if you can do them and you like them, go for it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great question. Keep the questions coming. We really appreciate it. And please keep hitting that like button so more people can discover us.
Do it.
Do it. You won't. Nick, man, I suck at reading. Nick Pedicus. Hopefully that's about right.
Pedicus.
Yeah. Any tips / stories regarding coming back to training after an illness? Recently got pretty demoralized having been sidelined a bit due to a sinus infection. Looks like he's practices a lot of nasal breathing, so this really fucked him up then.
Illness.
Damn.
Well, I mean, we've both come back from, well, you've never had a surgery, even though you've had rough injuries.
I've had a bunch of injuries, yeah. And yeah, illness. I've been sick before and that kind of stuff. You know, I would just, the same thing that I share with people when it comes to coming back from an injury would be the same thing I would share with you coming back from any sort of illness. You know, maybe try to concentrate on what are the things that you can do and what are some of the things that are maybe quite a bit different than what you normally would even think to do. So let's say you heard about meditation and how powerful it can be, or stretching, and you heard about how powerful it can be. Well, maybe, you know, if you're sick and you're down for 2 weeks and you're kind of all screwed up and you think you got better and then you got worse, like how many times that happened? You know, that feels like crap. But imagine if for the whole 2 weeks, if you were stretching, or imagine for the whole 2 weeks, you were messing around with some intermittent fasting. When you come back to your training, maybe you would be more advanced. Maybe you'd be able to not only pick up where you left off, but once you pick up again, and once you start going again, you might have progressed further than if you had just kind of moped around and been sad that you're not feeling well. So it might be a good opportunity to try some other things, and even just education, listening to podcasts, reading, learning more about training. Like those are, I think Nsima mentioned when he was hurt, you were watching jujitsu videos, right?
A lot of jujitsu. I was watching a lot of I was watching a lot of jujitsu and I was visualizing a lot of jujitsu, just stuff that I would want to try to do when I get back. But the big thing is like, I tell this to everyone who gets injured: don't come back too fast, like sooner than you should. And if you come back fast, take it easy. You know, take it easy for a few weeks, kind of just like get your bearings, make sure your body is ready to push. So each workout you come out of, you should feel like it was a good workout, you exerted yourself, but you didn't do too much. And even though I give this advice, I fucked myself up on this one because I tried to go back to jujitsu a few weeks ago a little bit too soon. I trained, I was like, maybe I can handle it, and then freaking restrained the thing I was trying to, work on. And I would tell people I work with, hey, don't do this, and I literally just did it. So with that being said, it takes a lot to back off of how intense you can go, but understand that you're doing that so you'll be able to, in the long run, be able to make progress and be able to get fully recovered. But right now, you just gotta be patient with yourself. You gotta treat yourself like treat yourself like your kid. If you had a kid, what would you tell them to do? And do that.
Yeah, and I'd imagine, because I mean, I know you've said this in Nsima, but like when you do get sick, if you eat a lot, you kind of feel better. So maybe since he's talking about being sick, like maybe once you can eat like a proper amount of nutrition, that's probably a sign that maybe you're ready to go back.
Yeah, you got to be careful when you're sick with something and your appetite goes away a little bit. Don't try to keep dieting through a sickness. That's one thing I'll say. If you get something, don't try to diet through it. Just eat normally. I'm not telling you to go binge, but eat well.
Yeah, sometimes you're not in the mood, especially like to maybe stay on your plan and eat like meat or something like that. You're like, I just want anything other than that.
I want some soup.
It was
Right.
weird. Yeah, that one day that I had that, like, it was like a weird fluish bug 2 years ago, I think, or a year and a half ago. I told you guys that I like had a massive milkshake and I had some ice cream and I just felt amazing. And my body was like, eat sugar. And that's not good advice generally, but hey, if you're sick, I don't know, live a little.
Just take care of yourself.
It's funny, we go from here and here. We just go to either side.
over the
And it's
place.
just, people are like, what?
People are gonna catch on eventually.
Yeah.
Like, oh, these guys actually don't know what they're talking about.
That's kind of true, huh?
I really like this question. I just definitely gonna butcher the name. Rafaz Villa or Via. Rafaz Villa? No,
These
just kidding.
people, man. Come on.
No, this is great. What split do you recommend for a runner who wants to start lifting so I look strong and not skinny? Me gusta.
Maybe, I think there's a lot of good examples online of people that are doing this, quite a bit. And you got, people like Cam Haynes out there who's,
Oh man.
really, really high level. What was the guy that we had on who ran the crazy, like he runs like a 4-minute mile or whatever? What's the guy's
Talking
name?
about not Zach Bitter, right?
No, not Zach.
Runs a
Bitter.
4-minute mile.
Yeah, and he's a lifter.
Was he the one that did the
he came
pull-up thing?
rucksack.
He came here. He actually
You're not talking about the pull-up guy.
The pull-up record guy?
no, but he's good
He's
too.
good,
Mike.
too.
Mike. Yeah.
Yeah,
Castleberry.
we're really bad with these
Mike
names.
Castle.
Mike
Castle.
Castle
Yeah,
was
see, I
good,
wasn't
yeah.
too far off.
But this-
Anyway, there's a lot of good
I know who you're
people
talking
to,
about. It was the day that we had, like, let's pretend his name is Mike. We had Mike one day and then Mike the next day. Like,
he was the guy that I ate the like rations
The
with or whatever.
ready-to-eat
the military
meals.
dude. he's
Oh,
got a great YouTube channel.
He has
Blah, blah,
such
blah,
good
blah. It's
content.
It starts with a B. No, not a
No,
B. Oh.
Ben, Blake, Brad.
I'll find it.
well,
Anyway,
it's right
Man,
there.
we're so.
Just the tip of the tongue. On the tip of the
I'm
tongue.
gonna find it as you.
Just
anyway,
use-
just
Spread to the
if it's running that you're not used to, then take your time integrating some running. For me personally, I integrated some walk runs for a while, and that worked really well until I was able to start to actually just run.
Nick Bear.
Nick Bear.
There you go.
Fudge.
You got the B right because
Yeah,
of
I was
Bear.
like,
Yeah.
Bear
Yeah.
Performance Nutrition. Yeah.
Yeah, check out Nick Bear on YouTube and his
He's
Instagram and
great.
stuff like that. Follow him. He's got a lot of great advice on, how to keep some good size on and lift and be able to, incorporate some running. But, I would say it's very reasonable to be able to lift 2-3 days a week. It's very reasonable to add in some running 2 or 3 days a week. But whichever one you're not used to, give yourself time with it. It's going to take time to be able to incorporate. If you go too fast, you're probably going to get hurt.
That's the biggest concept with that right there. Because especially because I've worked with a guy who did like he'd do like multiple 6-8 mile runs a week, and he would do like full marathons. And the big thing for us was making sure that we didn't try to progress things in lifting too fast, and we would just do whatever the body gave us on a specific day. Because in every sense, like a runner has already the nature of I want to do more. So now when they're approaching the gym, right, they're trying to maybe increase the weights too fast or increase this too fast. Just give yourself time, slowly increase that volume over time. I'd say it's not a bad idea to do some compound movements like the squat or just a lot of these movements, but progress them slowly, because you will be able to build muscle. You will be able to keep muscle, but you just shouldn't do it too fast or you will probably get yourself injured. So I think he asked, what's the best split for it? I'd say, depending on, he said 3 to 4 days. I'm assuming if you're,
he didn't say anything about days.
if he's a runner though, he's probably not going to be lifting 5 days a week. So my assumption is he's probably going to be lifting 3 days a week. And if you do that, you could do full body, upper, lower, or you could do 3 full body days. But I'd say do a full body, an upper, and a lower day, and keep your lower day as far away from your running days as you can. So if you do a lower body focused day, try not to run exactly the next day, or try to maybe have a run, maybe a lower body day, then an upper body day, then your running day, and then a full body day, and then whatever. But,
And cut
yeah.
way back, on the amount of work that you do with the lower body. I've done some days where I ran and lifted, and it can be pretty taxing, but if you only do like a squat, you only do a couple sets of squats or you only do a couple sets of deadlifts, not nearly as bad as like doing like a whole leg workout. So I would recommend like kind of think of the movements in the gym and how powerful they are and how they can assist you in gaining muscle mass, holding on to muscle mass, and how they can even assist your running. But don't do them, knock yourself silly with them to the point where you're so sore that you can barely walk, much less run.
Yeah, your runs will feel better. When you're stronger, when you
Mhm.
literally have stronger muscles, like, yeah, you won't be able to gain as much muscle as someone who's focused on bodybuilding.
Right.
But that muscle will help you be able to have better endurance because you're going to continue running. It's not like you're just going to stop.
The last thing I'll add here is, it also depends on your goal. So I think sometimes people are like, I'm going to run, I'm going to lift because I want to get, in the best shape possible. And I never want to tell anyone they can't do it that way because you certainly could. There's a lot of people that run and lift that look great. But there's also a lot of people that recognize that you don't necessarily have to do that in order to be lean. So if you're trying to be like big and jacked, and you're trying to do so through running and lifting, it might not be your best option. But if you just happen to love running and you want to start incorporate some lifting to look a little more jacked, that makes a little bit more sense.
Now we have a not very specific, it's pretty specific. Jonas Stillings, how often should you use the reverse hyper machine? What sets and reps should you do? I guess it's pretty broad now that I think about it because it's a general question. We don't know anything because he didn't say anything whether he's injured or he just wants to know just in general how.
I have not used the reverse hyper in a long time, but
I don't.
a lot of it has to do with like, what's the goal? What are you trying to do? I used to utilize it a lot because I was deadlifting and squatting often, and I was just really smashing my spine together a lot with heavy weights. And so I kind of needed that traction on the lower back. It is something I should probably start to do again. But a regular set and rep scheme on the reverse hyper is, 3 to 4 sets, anywhere between 8 to 15 reps. Usually just because it takes a little bit to like set yourself up in there, and it takes a little bit of time to get the weights correct and all those things. Whenever something is like that, whenever something has a larger setup, I usually like to do more sets of it. So like 5 or 6 sets would be pretty common for me, and somewhere between 8 to 15 reps.
I think we should maybe, one thing I want you to expand upon, since you've done more reverse hypers than I have through the years. I think that's a movement that you can do pretty frequently. Like I'd say even if you only did lower body twice a week, that you can do the reverse hyper also on an upper day. So if you did that 3 times a week, I think it's actually pretty beneficial. But when people do the reverse hyper, how important is it to control the eccentric swing down? Because I see a lot of people do reverse hypers and they do it and then they just let it come down, right? Shouldn't you be controlling that aspect of the movement a bit?
Absolutely. Yeah, you control it and you'll actually feel your back open up a lot more, and it's a lot more beneficial to the lower back. Letting it swing and move around like crazy, it does put you through like a range of motion, but it's not nearly having the same effect and benefit. You want to actually flex your glutes and flex your butt and hamstrings as you're contracting kind of upward, and then you want to sort of resist against that on the way down. And you'll feel really good. Your lower back will kind of halfway hurt, but halfway feel good, and you'll feel your spine kind of opening up. And to me, it was always a really good feeling. And then the last thing that you want to make sure that you do, specifically with the reverse hyper, is when your feet start to go under the machine, you want to make sure your feet go under you, and they almost go in line with like where your chest is. So you sometimes have to kind of almost push your feet a little bit forward because you want to get a lot of range of motion from that lower back. And you can kind of intentionally round and arch and round and arch as you're going through the movement. But Nsima hit the nail on the head. You really want to try to control those movements. And so you don't need to load the thing up with all kinds of crazy weights. Keep the weights modest, control them, and do the repetitions correctly.
Yeah.
I always had wished that it was almost like a cable machine, not a weighted machine. If something was pulling my legs forward and I had to fight it to go back, I would swing way less and probably get more benefit from it. I don't know. That's just me kind of wishing I could like Frankenstein something.
Yeah, they make a lot of different versions of them nowadays. Okay. But what you could do is you could, rather than like having your legs swing too much in accordance to how much your back can move, you can simply pause at the bottom of every single one of them and come back up. And that would work very similar to the way that you're talking about. The issue is like you end up with like hardly any weight on there. I mean, go ahead and try to do a reverse hyper with no weight on the with 0 weight on the machine, and just using like whatever the thing weighs, whatever the thing that holds the weight. It is really, really challenging and really difficult, especially after you get through a couple reps. You're like, what? Like, this is total bullshit. This is like way harder than I thought. Even putting like a 25 on there or something like that could be really challenging.
Yeah, just watch your shins on the way back.
Yeah, you got to be careful you don't bend your knees.
Yeah, let's see here. Our boy Nathan Tustin, I think he's the guy that I think we told him to go full carnivore to try to win that contest at the end of last year. So he says, I'll piggyback off the sleep thing. I recently got moved to midnights. What kind of protocols do you recommend I utilize to promote health and athletic performance? I'm a 28-year-old MMA fighter.
Moved to midnights, meaning you
so
work
he works night shift now.
Oof. Okay. I would suggest that you try. Well, it's not every. Is it every night? Because some people, they work night shifts some parts of the week, and then they have days where they can sleep normally. Try to get back when you get back home. Try to have a consistent type of sleep schedule that would be somewhat close to the time you usually go to bed. So an example is like if you work from midnight to 7 a.m., don't sleep immediately once you get home. Wait a little bit. If you're going to be working that same night, maybe sleep at 11 a.m., then wake up. And if you have the ability to, try to sleep a little bit later, just because if you're sleeping way too soon, like you're sleeping once you get home, the time you go to sleep and the time you wake up is going to be way different from when you have normal nights where you go to sleep at like 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. So you kind of don't want such a spread in your circadian rhythm. You want it to be closer. So that's why I'd say don't sleep once you get home. Try to keep it a few hours later. That would be my suggestion there.
Man, that's tough. That's tough when you have a schedule like that. I think the main thing is just to make sure that you're getting adequate sleep, and then you can kind of just almost pretend that nothing ever happened. You should be able to function normally. But there is some research that shows that like working nights like that is very difficult because of the circadian rhythm. You're up at different hours when most other people are sleeping. From a social perspective, it can also get a little bit tough. It can get a little awkward. But I would just recommend that you try to find a bracket of time that represents a normal healthy sleep habit of getting 7 to 8 hours a day. If you can fulfill that, then everything else should be very similar. I would also try to take advantage, and I think this is really hard for people, try to take advantage of when you have days off. I think the tendency sometimes is that because you have a day off and you're so tired from the normal rigors of your weird work hours that you have, that you really don't do much, or you only take care of a couple of things that you needed to take care of, such as like grocery shopping and things like that. But I would suggest that you try to load those days up on getting in some good training, take advantage of those days, and then just don't forget how important it is to kind of manage overall stress, and try to keep the diet on point. It's all very difficult stuff when you're working nights like that, but other people figure it out, and you should be able to figure it out too. Last kind of note on that is like you don't need to work out you don't need to lift every single day. So maybe you have 3 or 4 days a week where you're lifting kind of hard.
The Huberman stack might be something you want to use on the days that you have to go to sleep during the day, just because if more of the nights you're actually sleeping during the nights and you're only supposed to be working at night for a few days of the week, it's going to be hard for you to fall asleep quickly when you do get back home. So the Huberman stack is 50 milligrams of apigenin, 300 to 400 milligrams of magnesium threonate, and 200 to 400 milligrams of theanine. And a lot of people, I haven't done that stack myself, but so many people have taken that stack of supplements and just been like, oh my God, my sleep is so deep. And they have crazy dreams that it could be something that's really beneficial for the days that you have to sleep during the day.
Damn, I want to try that.
Yeah, that's a hell of a cocktail.
Yeah, you might need a eye mask. You might want to look into some mouth tape. You might try to black out some of the stuff in your wherever you sleep. All those things can be beneficial. There's even some information and some research that shows that light, even just hitting any part of your body, it can be a little disruptive to your sleep. So even if you are wearing an eye mask, but there's still light getting in, your sleep is supposedly not as restful. So just something to keep in mind.
Shades, right?
Yeah, you try to get the blackout, try to black out everything as much as you can.
I should get those for my room.
They can help. They can help a lot.
Yeah. So almost an hour in, I definitely wanted to get this question out there. Yeah. From Soul Train _
let's go.
If I want to lose 100 pounds, he's 5'10", 300 pounds. Besides the diet, I'm about to start carnivore/fasting. What else can I do to lose body fat optimally?
Yeah, obviously exercise, moving around. I would say there's some boxes you want to try to check every single day. And we want to make sure those things aren't unreasonable. I think walking about 2 times every single day for 10 minutes or having one walk that is 20 or 30 minutes should be fairly easy to do. Get in some sort of resistance training. Try to get in some type of lifting. That doesn't have to be every day, but 4 or 5 days a week would be great. And then just sticking to your plan. You're mentioning intermittent fasting and a carnivore diet. I like those ideas a lot. But I also, for me personally, I haven't personally noticed a significant difference in like just really being crazy regimented on something versus just having a little bit of play in there. And the reason why is when I have a little bit of play with the diet, there's a little bit of room for error. Like I might be carnivore, but I'm also eating some fruit. I also have a tasty pastry from Legendary Foods here and there, or some things like that. I'm able to do it for a longer period of time. Now, if that sends you into a binge or sends you into something, where you're starting to overconsume a lot of calories, then maybe that's not your best bet. So you might have to be careful with some of those things. But for the most part, that's the way I would recommend doing it. Obviously, we talk a lot about sleep. Make sure you get your sleep in there. Make sure you're staying hydrated, things of that nature. But this is going to be great for you. You weigh 300. You're working your way down to 200. I'd also have some reasonable goals with how long that process takes. So for you, I would like for you to get it in your mind now. It's not going to happen in 6 months. It's not going to necessarily happen in a year. Not necessarily going to happen in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years. It's going to be however long it takes. So you're not concerned about the time frame, really. You're not like worried about, I need to lose 25 pounds every month. Just do the best that you can with it. Continue to work on it every single day. And if it takes you 3 years, then it took you 3 years, and that's just fine.
Absolutely. But one thing when it does come to that, and I think that you should let it take the time it takes, but sometimes it gets easy to fall into the idea that, okay, well, this is going to take me a long time. Let me just go and eat this right now. Or let me just go to this restaurant right now. It's going to take years, so it's a process. Try not to do that too often. It is sometimes good to go get some In-N-Out or something, but you don't want to have the excuse of it taking a long time to make decisions you shouldn't make. Along with that, make your life easier by paying attention to the type of foods you keep at home. I don't keep binge-worthy foods at home because I know that if I have certain foods, I will eat a lot of it because I will reach for it easily. So you don't want to keep foods that you typically, go crazy on at arm's length. Then you have to go out, if you don't keep it there, it's going to take some effort to go out to the store, purchase it, eat it. It takes some more effort. So make making good choices easy. That's why we love Eat Right. That's why we love these foods, because sometimes if we're in a pinch and we want something quick, but let's just say we don't have the energy to cook, sometimes you might want to make the decision to go out and eat. But if you have something that's readily made right there in your freezer and you can just warm it up, it makes it easy to make a good decision. So just making healthy choices easy for yourself. And we've talked about sleep. We've talked about hydration, how important hydration can be. One good tip, I think, is like, along with those 10-minute walks, try to maybe take a walk right after you eat. I think you've talked a lot about that, but it's going to be pretty beneficial for you. Yeah,
it's a great cue. And I like what Nsima is saying about trying to make certain things easier for yourself. You're trying to make it easier for yourself to not overeat. You're trying to make it easier for yourself to promote a healthy living style, a healthier living style by having some meat ready in the freezer, maybe having some meat ready to be cooked that's in the fridge. These are all things that you want to try to plan ahead for the night before. You can say, oh man, most of my steak is frozen. I should set it out on the counter, and then the next morning it's ready to be cooked. In terms of the fasting, I would just be, just a little critical of just making sure that you don't overdo it. And part of the carnivore diet, part of the real gem of the whole thing is that you get to eat some eggs, you get to eat some meat, and you get to just kind of load up on those things. Over a period of time, you will generally start to eat less, and you'll auto-regulate on the overall amount of calories that you consume. But if we're being honest with ourselves, I think most of the time when people are heavy, they have a really slacked or lazy mindset wrapped around the habits that they have. So I'm not saying you're lazy in general, that you're a lazy person in general, but when it comes to your nutrition, you're slacked, you're too relaxed on that, and you need to develop a stronger discipline. Not having the types of foods in your house is great, and then also having the foods that are going to encourage you to stay on plan is another great way of doing it.
So in the context of someone who is striving to lose 100 pounds and everything you just said right now, Mark, I just discovered these things. It's Greek yogurt, like ice cream popsicles or something. So very low calories, but it does taste like ice cream. It's delicious. And this is from Costco. So you get a big box. But it is an alternative to a high caloric thing that's not going to help you. In this context where somebody's trying to lose 100 pounds, would substituting stuff like that be a good idea, or should we just try to avoid anything like that? And I'm saying, okay, don't have Ben & Jerry's, have this Greek yogurt ice cream. Don't have the full fat French toast that I make, or, have the one that I make, the low fat French toast. That could lead to eating more stuff, I guess. But yeah, in this context, should somebody be looking to make alternative choices, or just stick with, just like you said, eating the whole foods, eating, steak, eggs, protein first, and that sort of thing?
Yeah, stick to those whole foods as much as you possibly can, and hang on tight.
There you go. Yeah.
Hang on for dear life, because, otherwise it's kind of like, jerking off, but not going all the way.
Edging.
Yeah, and that's going to be really tempting, right?
Actually brings up another question.
Oh, let's go.
No, but go ahead, Mark. Sorry.
So yeah, I just think you have to kind of like earn your right. Think about everything that you do in life. You have to kind of earn the right to do certain things. Like, I feel like nowadays I've earned the right to go on vacation, and to, like, if I wanted to go to Italy and get, and pay for first class and like do things on a different level. But there were years ago, I never did that shit. Years ago, my head was down. I was fucking working my face off. And I was like, at some point, there'll be opportunities to where I can do things slightly differently. When it comes to your nutrition, like, you're trying to gain, something parallel to financial freedom for your body. When you have enough muscle mass, when your body fat is at appropriate levels, then you can fuck off a little bit here and there. And you can say, I want to enjoy that just because I can, and because it's not going to really cause all that much harm to me, and I just feel like enjoying that for now. And so I think that's ideally where most people would love to work their way towards. But for now, I think it's healthy for you to tell yourself, you know what, you're just not there yet. We're not at that level, and I'm going to work my way towards that, and step by step over a long period of time, I will eventually be there, and I can eventually do things like that. But for right now, I need to pay attention and stay on my food plan, and kind of stick to a specific list of foods the best that you can.
Yeah.
You said it was going to lead you into another question?
About jerking off.
Nsima, are you still team NoFap?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
I don't beat my meat.
Somebody was joking, there they go. Sergeant something. Damn it. It's gone forever.
Yeah, man. It's either like, okay, so we talked about this. Maybe we'll have an episode where we talk about this again. But like, real talk, like, I got into porn when I was 11 years old, and I could tell that shit was having an effect on me.
Not the porn
mentally.
industry.
Yeah, no, I was smashing it. No, I wasn't. No, I was, no, not the porn industry. I started watching porn.
I
at
didn't
11 years old.
start searching something.
Nsima, yeah, ew. No, don't search that on this computer. Anyway,
No,
that's
I
a
don't want to
joke.
get it. Yeah.
That's
Sergeant
a bad
Rock,
joke.
by the way.
Sergeant Barack?
Rock.
Sergeant Rock.
Well, choking the chicken daily hurt my gains. That was
Choking
the
the
question.
chicken daily hurt my gains.
I heard Huberman talking about this recently. So
Let's go. Let's go.
So first of all, there's not a direct correlation all the time to your testosterone levels. So people are always like, how do I get my testosterone levels up? And then you're like, well, what are you trying to get them up for? Like, it doesn't always result in you being bigger or more jacked. It's like way more complicated than that, especially temporary changes in your testosterone. So sex will increase your testosterone levels, but sex without ejaculation increases your testosterone by like 400% or something like that. Again, it's momentarily though, you know, it's just for a bit. So like if you did that often, like if you did that, I mean, I don't know if anyone's ever survived it or tried it for long enough, but and same thing I believe with masturbation. I think if you masturbate and don't go all the way,
Mark Belts hold me to edge.
Yeah. It could have you know, an effect on you, but I don't think it would be anything that it's worth. It's not worth anything.
Don't go down that rabbit hole, man.
And so I think you know, masturbation, like I don't think it affects your training one way or the other. I think it's just a release sometimes from whatever it is that you're thinking about.
If I were to nut before training, I'd be so tired, bro.
Yeah, right. You'd be
That
like,
doesn't
"Ah."
mean, like,
But I'm just now imagining at the next powerlifting meet, all the lifters are going to the bathroom real quick right before their name's getting called up.
You hear lots of fapping going on.
why does that dude have a boner on the bench? Like, that's a legitimate bench boner. What's going on
Yeah,
here?
taking it too far.
Okay, so back to trying to be as serious as possible. I thought ejaculating raised your prolactin level. I could be wrong in that though.
Yeah, it can.
Yeah.
I don't. But again,
But
I
I
don't
have
think
no
it's,
idea what prolactin does.
Yeah, well, it's not necessarily negative.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there's going to be some people here that who's just like, let's go. Let's start edging before every workout. Like,
They'll get a little bit too close and during a squat.
We got lots of questions for Andrew Huberman, by the way,
Just start right there.
because he talked about that refractory period when we were talking about that the other day. So he talked about the release of like prolactin after you ejaculate. But then he was like, you could take vitamin B6 to counteract that. Then he was like, well, I'm not going to like give anybody specific recommendations, but you could do that if you wanted to shorten the refractory period. I was like, wait, he's got to go into this in more detail.
you can't just leave
Meaning
that.
it's life.
Talk about
Wow,
edging. He edged us.
I'm gonna have some B6 right and ready.
Edged us.
Edged
Water
us out.
B6. Let's go.
Lots of B vitamins in steak, by the way.
Damn.
Just be eating the steak.
Oh yeah, that's not a bad idea.
That is one way to close the show. But yeah, thank you everybody for the questions. You guys got anything else?
I think that's it.
Yeah, that is it. We're no longer going to podcast.
Maybe get
ever
yourself a
again.
woman that you could set a porterhouse. Never mind.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see what you
Just put a plate. Not even a plate.
Yeah, you don't want just like a 6-ounce fillet on there, right?
No,
Like,
it's got to be worth it.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Anyway.
She's got to have the
Shelf.
hardware, dishware. I don't know.
Dishware.
Don't know where I was going with
Oh,
that.
Jesus.
But thank you for all the questions today. You guys
What the
fucking
hell?
crushed it.
John Cena fell.
Oh, John Cena fell. Even he was like, guys, this is too
Guys,
much.
yeah. Pause, guys.
But thank you to Eat Right Foods for sponsoring this episode. They probably didn't appreciate that last bit. Maybe they did.
They did.
Yeah. EatRightFoods.com. That's EatRite Foods.com. Links to them down in the description below, as well as the podcast show notes. Promo code PowerProject25 for 25% off your first order, and code PowerProject for 10% off every order after that. Please make sure you're following the podcast at Mark Bell's Power Project on Instagram, at MB Power Project on TikTok and Twitter. My Instagram and Twitter is at I am Andrew Z. And Nsima, Mr. TikTok, where you at?
Nsima Inyang on Instagram and YouTube, and Nsima Inyang on TikTok and Twitter. Guys, make sure to go on Apple. If you're listening on us on Apple or anywhere that you listen to this podcast, leave us a review because we are killing it everywhere. So subscribe and review.
Yeah, everyone in the Caymans, like, go review.
Cayman Islands, we're celebrities.
We're
celebrities because
so
we're the top
please.
podcast in the Cayman Islands.
Dude, I get so many DMs from them.
From Cayman
Right, me
Islands.
too.
Yeah, you guys
Nice.
too, right?
Yeah.
It's weird.
I can't keep
Crazy.
up.
And all the mail that's on my desk too. It's all from Cayman
Yeah,
Islands.
that's
I'm like, I
insane.
don't even know
Fan
where it
mail?
is.
Fuck.
Shoot.
So that's what. Oh, that's why there's so many stamps on them.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
now I get it. All right.
Lots of fans. I got to open up some of that mail. I think some of the mail's probably hate mail too, right?
It's gotta be.
Let's just be honest. It can't all be positive all
We
the
got
time.
hate listeners.
Mhm.
We definitely do.
Interesting.
I'm at Mark Smelly Bell. Strength is never weakness. Weakness never strength. Catch y'all later.